I think many of you knows Reza because of his artworks. He had done a lot of beautiful pictures of Afghanistan, and really he makes me loving this country. And I'm really very honored to have him with us today. And so his proposition was to talk about the fact that what is important is not visible to our eyes. And it was very touching me because for me, mindful art is the way we are following actually the Little Prince footprints to feel, to be touched by the things. When Cecile talked and told that for her the picture with the little girl was very different than the others, that reminds me Petit Prince when he saw the garden of flowers and seeing his flowers and the difference between a garden and his flowers. And so that was a real great introduction, Cecile, for Reza Deghati and his vision of pictures, photographies, and life. Reza, I don't know if you want me telling something else. It's yours.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Do you hear me?
Perfectly. Hello, dear Reza. Happy to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for putting all these months of effort and the contact to organize this meeting for Afghanistan and Afghan people. I really appreciate your efforts, and I'm thankful to everybody present here, because I know how much takes of the time of everybody to be present in the things which are a little outside of our daily works. And I know how everybody get involved in this daily works and having no time for the main issues of the humanity, which is important for all of us. And I believe that Afghanistan is probably one of the 3-4 most important issues that everybody should somehow take care of it, that every of us, whatever we are, whoever we are, wherever we are, as a human being, as someone that living in this planet, and we all know that we are not individual, we are all connected in a way. So doing even a little things, 1 minute per day for Afghanistan should be part of daily life of everybody. Today, the city of Kabul was again and proudly, I should say, full of Afghanistan women that were protesting and asking for equality. They are saying that we are tired of being slaves of the Taliban. This is today was. And unfortunately, the Taliban military attacked them by gas and also with the pepper, this famous pepper spray that is painful when you got in your eyes, and I have got it a lot of times, those pepper sprays. So the women in the street of Kabul, they are coming out. Many of them, they were killed. Many of them were arrested and nobody knows where they are. And Taliban, they is still doing this. I believe that all of us, we should somehow around us to spread this word and asking everybody to support Afghan women fights for freedom, for social injustice, for equality, for everything that they're fighting for. So it's very important having this conversation. And I think that, yes, we should say very nice things about everybody. We should say very nice things about artworks, my works or your works. But at the end, why I do all those works, why I do all those pictures, it brings the attention of the world through those faces, through this culture, through this children's eyes and everything, to bring the attention of the people to a specific story, to a specific country. And for many years, over the past 40 years, one of the places which I believe that needed more attention, and the whole world, we have been very, very wrong against the Afghanistan people. Everything that the governments they have done were wrong, in a way, wrong for the people. Maybe it was right for them because many of those governments, they made billions, trillions of dollars by creating the war in Afghanistan or other countries. So many of these European and United States countries, they are getting rich and by creating the wars. And I think that each of us, we should aware of this. We should tell about this. We should let the world know about it, that why Afghanistan people, they are suffering. And one of the countries that has suffered more of any places in the world is Afghanistan. There are just few others, nations, people. Iran is one of them that are suffering for wrong international politics. This is the most important things these days to do. My photographs of Afghanistan over 40 years. The first time I went there was 1983. The country was invaded by the Russian soldiers. At those times, they were called the Soviet Union. And I was able somehow to bring the photographs, stories, peoples, tell their own stories over the years. Then I thought that it is not enough, my works. I need to help Afghanistan journalists, the people themselves to tell their own stories. So I created an organization which is called AINA, which is meaning mirror, in 2001 in Afghanistan, in having offices later in some more cities, and trainings a lot of Afghans to everything's in the media, video, photography, radio, journalism, investigation journalism, filmmaking. So all of them, they were in this training center, which I created in 2001. And I'm very proud that many of those students has reached the toppest places in their professions. One of them is Masoud Hosseini, which I believe that he's watching us. He's a photographer trained in AINA. The teacher of the AINA photo was my brother Manucher, and all the different departments, we had different teachers. The best that they came in Kabul those years. From 2001 we started. The AINA is still going on now. The Taliban has taken over. We don't know what's happening there. But over this past 20 years, I know we were able to train more than 1,000 people, many of them women. We created the first women magazine the first and only children magazine, a radio station which is called Afghan Women Voices, Aina Photography, Aina Video, Aina Graphic Design. So all of them in connection with the Kabul journalism university faculty, we were able to bring and help the media in Afghanistan to bloom, independent media. And through those media, we're able to reach almost all the Afghans. And if you see the Afghan women now on the street are demonstrating, comparing the 20 years ago that no Afghan woman even was daring to come out and talk. I think that having those media past 20 years in Afghanistan, radios, TVs, newspapers, magazines, theaters, movies, mobile cinemas in the villages, these are the things that has changed a lot of Afghanistan's people mentality. And I'm very proud that what is happening today. So thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to have this conversation. And still I'm urging that really take a few minutes every day and do some things for women of Afghanistan, especially, that they are the bravest one now, fighting in front of the one of the most barbarian group that we have never seen. The Taliban are really a barbarian group. Their minds, their actions, and what they do, they are similar to Al-Qaeda, they are similar to Islamic State, they are similar to Islamic Republic of Iran. They are all part of the same thought and the same group of the people. And we all need to fight them, whatever the price will be. We need to fight them because this is how we could get mindfulness and be having a peace inside, because it's difficult to have internal peace and peace inside while you know what's happening in other part. But by participation and helping those movements and knowing that somehow your life is not only for you, but you are doing for the others, then the internal peace could come to you, and then you feel no stress. You feel you don't need Prozac. You just because you are connected to the world, and you know that your action somehow helping people that's suffering. That's the so much easier than this. I couldn't say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Reza. I'm speechless because I know that we talked about what would be the topic, and I guess it was so important for you to talk about Afghan women that you changed completely. But you are right. This is the real meaning of why we are together. Is because of these women, and I'm really happy that you join us and to see them fighting, because that's what we haven't done in 79. When women tries to say no to the Republic Islamic, the other ones was trying to find a way of having a little bit of power. So they say, stop, don't talk too high. But it's very important. If I want to be back, if you may, I'm very curious to know also about the history of these pictures, because this picture with the little girl, because we don't know anything. Do you mind if I ask you this question? You want to continue politics or?
No. I mean, you know, I believe that nobody now to the world you should say that I'm not politic.
Yes, you're right.
Everybody, everything that we are doing is politics.
Yes.
Even when we don't do politics, we are helping the politician that they want us not to do politics. Do you know what I mean?
Perfect.
So everything's happening in the world. We should be part of it. We should take care of the different stories. So that's how I believe that even breathing the air now is politics. So for me, there is no difference between doing politics or talking about art or philosophy or history. In any way, the picture which I have taken, they are full of the politic issues, my photographs, anyway. First of all, as I covered a lot of wars, and I have been in almost 30 years of past 40 years in the war zones, in the conflict zone, one of the main issue that I find out that the one that is suffering in the wars are women and the children. The one who suffer more in the wars, they are not soldiers. They are not generals. They are not politicians, not president. They don't suffer of the war. The real suffering is the children, women, elder people, civilians. These are the ones that now suffering more and more. And that's why I concentrated a lot of my works, photography works, to show the life of those children and women under the war situation. To be able to connect to the world, when I started 40 years ago, photojournalism, I realized very soon that, of course, in the war, we see the dead bodies, we see the wounded people, we see suffering people. But to tell their stories to the world and bring their attention to the world, I thought that I need to find a different way to talk about the wars, different images. And that's how I came up in this idea that why not show the beauty of those people, of this land, and put a little suffering sign on the picture. Make the pictures not only beautiful, but somehow intriguing, somehow a beautiful face, but there's some intriguation on it. And that's one of the photograph that I think that tell the best story is this Afghan little girl's photograph, which I made it in 2003. This was 2 years after the US attack on Afghanistan. It was 2001 against Al-Qaeda, what they're saying. There was a story which I did in 2003 for National Geographic magazine, which was called Tracking the Ghost of Bin Laden. So I was with a writer, and both of us, for 6 months, we traveled in the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, in the two countries, in Afghanistan and Pakistan. This is in the past 40 years, the most dangerous place in the world, this Afghan and Pakistani border, which they are tribal zone. They are the most difficult, most dangerous, and very little known places in the world. But I was able to travel 6 months there with all the dangers and the risks that had. The main story was, okay, Bin Laden was in this village, one village, which is called the Tora Bora. And after the 9/11, the US started saying that we are going to attack them. So he had to flee this place and go somewhere. So what was the direction that he takes and what's happened? Because those years, U.S. came, attacked Afghanistan, Taliban left, Al-Qaeda left, and U.S. brought more than 100,000 soldiers in the name that we are fighting terrorism and we are fighting against Al-Qaeda. This was all happening in Afghanistan, all the wars. And the story which I did for National Geographic in 2003, just 2 years after, we showed that there is no more terrorists in Afghanistan. And all the terrorists, even bin Laden, should be only in Pakistan. So there is no way have this 100,000 soldiers in Afghanistan for the war on the terrorism. The terrorists all in Pakistan. This was the story we did. Now, everybody understand that what we said was right in 2003. So I wanted to go to this village, the Tora Bora, and photograph what's happened there, because it is known that the Tora Bora is the village in Afghanistan that in the past 40 years or past the whole, even past history, was bombed more than on any other villages, because bin Laden and everybody were in villages. Obviously, to reach this village, I make the long story short, how difficult was it and how risky was to go there, especially on foot, because there was no more road there. All the roads were destroyed, and I had to walk on the mountain a lot. Finally, when I arrived in this village, it was almost a totally destroyed village. But I saw there are still people living there. It was so incredible to see this totally destroyed village, but still there were some people living there. And I was astonished, looking around. And suddenly I saw a little far in some place which was maybe was the center of the village. There's a little group of the children are playing. And I was so attracted by this. So I just walked there very slowly, like a little cat, looking to them, having an eye on the children that playing in the middle of this ruined village. And obviously, like all the time, I'm thinking what pictures I could take here. I'm looking around every places. All my antennas is out. Everything is photography. I'm looking to the different angles, and also I'm telling what is the best camera and the lens which I should use. I carry like sometimes it depends on the story, few cameras. And I said, well, I think that at 200 millimeters will be better. 200 millimeters for the home that they know, it's like a telephoto. You just take portrait or pictures from the far away. So if you choose 200 in this place like this, you are not going to get everything around. I was more attracted by those children than all these destroyed houses. And when I reached a little near them, there were maybe 5, 6, and I saw the little girl from the backside. I saw her that has this nice red hairs, and the other kids were playing to them. So first I saw these girls from the back, and suddenly some of the other children, they saw me. They saw me standing a little far there, and they stopped playing and they started looking to me. By their body language, by their action, this little boy that was playing with them realized that something back in her back, so everybody's looking in the back. So she turned around me. And when she turned, that's how my 200 millimeters and everything was ready. It just takes a second. And it's still, I always think that, like a few minutes ago when I decided to have these lenses, I didn't know for what. But this is the best lenses that I could get this portrait. Otherwise, I will not have the portrait and her face in the way which is framed. In her eyes, there is all these distracted villages. In her eyes, there is all the suffering of the wars of all the children. That's why, for me, choosing this portrait, showing of all the story of this Tora Bora and the village or whatever, it's more successful, because showing a destroyed village or district by war, we have seen a lot. Still, it's good to show it because it's part of the reality of the war. Still, I'm photographing the ruins, I'm photographing the dead, wounded, but at the end, many of those pictures are just historical document for me. I should document those wounded people or dead bodies and everything. But the one which I'm going to connect now, these days, with the people of this world, this moment, it is not the pictures of those dead bodies. It's the eyes of these children that are telling the stories. That's how I choose in my photograph to keep a lot of those pictures that is for the history, later for the researchers, what's happened, how was destroyed this village, how it was bombed. The pictures are there. I have those pictures. But the picture which I want to show and create relation and bring people of the world to think about Afghanistan, to think about the war, to think about the children, about the suffering, and having able to look to the eyes of these girls for hours. You can look to her eyes for hours. You know, this is incredible. You can lose hours, you can look to these pictures hours and you still find incredible stories. But pictures of a wounded person or some children that died in the war, of course, is terrible. But we are not going to look to them because it's too much for eyes to see some of those things that we see it. We photographer, we the journalists, we saw the thing that I wish never existed, that I wish never happened, those scenes which I have seen and are some part in my memory and my photographs always also. So this is the story of these pictures. That's why has became also one of my well-known or most well-known pictures, and people like it, and used in the cover of the National Geographic, used in the cover of the National Geographic book about my works, and a lot of places.
Thank you very much. Oh, yes, it's. I can connect deeply with what you say, because I think that why we are here together in this format is to celebrate the beauty instead of going to, when we celebrate the beauty, when we connect to the child inside us, because this child you photograph is also a part of each of us. We know where to go to generate life, where to go to create, where to go to make things happen in a beautiful way. But if we, so that's more, I think, thinking about Afghanistan with dance, poems, and women and children and life going there is the best way to reconstruct the country. And if you agree, if you have few minutes, I would love to ask if other people have questions, so we can enjoy your presence in this way.
It's with pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm very glad if anybody has a conversation, move on this conversation.
Thank you. So if one of you have a question, I think we are very, very lucky having you for just few of hours. We are very, this is a privileged moment. So that's yours. We have 2 friends from Afghanistan, maybe more. I don't see everyone. That's yours. You just activate your mic and you can talk.
دوستای افغان کیا هستن؟
Fahime Mirzai, Fatime
Hassani,
and they will do a beautiful their Sufi dance after.
Salam alaikum.
Hello everyone. I'm Fahime and yes.
بسیار خوب، بسیار خوش آمد.
Masoud was here. He's coming.
Okay, fantastic.
And he says that he's just coming. What are the things you have done, Reza, for Afghanistan, which has been touching me, was that you proposed to construct by giving something to do positive to the people instead of just nourishing them. So we decided, you proposed to go and for the fundraising to find people who are supporting the education. And so it's very late now, it's in the middle of the night, but we had connected with Masood Foundation in Australia for a program for girls' education, and also with Afghan, which is a Paris-based association for girls. They are doing lots of effort to maintain schools in Afghanistan by paying the salary to the teachers. And so if you have an advice to give for us who want to help, what you will say? Because you have been involved in such a big program for helping Afghanistan.
The work which I started in Afghanistan was based on my observation of those countries that are in war constantly. What I realized that the wars and conflict, they create 2 different destruction. One destruction is visible, destruction of the houses, of roads, of infrastructures, of hospitals, destruction of the bodies, mutilate people. These are the physical destruction. happened by the war. But the main destruction is the wounded souls. The main destruction is the trauma that everybody in a war zone goes through and start having psychological problems. And these are invisible wounds of the wars. Then I realized that the whole world, United Nations, the government, all the NGOs, this was my thought 30 years ago, 40 years ago, sorry. I realized that all those organizations, when they come to help people, they only help physical destruction. They help to create roads, water wells, hospitals, schools. They build buildings. And they go. When they finish it, they said, okay, we help these people, we repair the roads, we make the hospital and finish. But in reality, those people, all nations that has been in trauma, that has suffered, that has the wounded souls, nobody knows how to help them. Building a school, building hospital, building roads, it's good, but it is not the whole story. That's why I thought that we need to come up with a new way of the NGOs, but new project of the all UN and everybody else, to see how we can help those millions of the nations that are suffering, the wounded souls that are suffering inside.
I understand perfectly.
One day I was reading the newspapers, and it was a story about one shooting in one school in US, I believe. You know, it's happening every day almost. But what attracted my eyes, my main story was that I saw that when something happening like this, a shooting, someone was killed or wounded, they have police, they have ambulances, but immediately they send a lot of doctors and the psychotherapists that they are going to talk to everybody, all the children, teachers, parents of the children, to calm them down, the psychotherapists. Then I saw that it's happening even in Europe, and every time is a disaster, immediately there's a group of the psychotherapists that are going to talk to those people because of this trauma, because of the wounded souls. They need also to be healed. Then my question was, when one shooting happening in the school, you have 30 psychotherapists going to talk everybody in the school, all the parents and everybody. But then what about the people of Afghanistan or Angola or Cambodia or other countries that are in Middle East, in Lebanon, that has been under war for centuries, for the generations? Who is going to play this psychotherapist? And what will be happen if those wounded souls, they are not healed? A children that his parent was killed in a war, or have seen during the war airplane destroyed his school, when we go to help them, we bring them food, we make him a school, we make him a shelter for him, And they said, okay, this is food for you, this is your the dress, everything is fine, goodbye. But in reality, these children, he has only one thing in his mind, is to revenge his parent, to revenge the people that attacked their countries, that killed people. So by giving him clothes and the shoes and the better shelter, if we don't help this trauma, if we don't help this revenge mind to become something more positive, somehow everything we are doing is going to help them become more strong to continue the war. Am I clear?
Very.
Everybody's understand, I hope, what I say. So I came up with this idea that in a nationwide, we cannot have psychotherapists for everybody. When 50 million, 30 million Afghans suffering of the war, we cannot have psychotherapists going to talk to them. No way. But who could be the nation psychotherapist? I thought the woman. The woman, because of their motherhood instinctive that they have best to help a nation. But then I said, what kind of the woman? Obviously, were teachers, educators, artists, intellectual, journalists, or group of those women that I said, they could help a nation, the whole nation. Then I said, but what tool is necessary? The tool was media. The best tool today that you could connect to the whole nation is through media, different media. In 2001, there were not social medias. There were just newspapers, magazines, radios, TVs. That's what we started. But if the women in these countries are giving enough possibility of having a media and spread this word, there will be little by little this force of the healing nation. That's how the whole thing I started, giving these Afghans the tools, the cameras, everything necessary, teaching them how to tell the stories. And then they start telling their own stories. The stories that Afghan women has told through the videos that they have now, nobody else could do it. The photograph that the Afghan photographers taken, nobody else could take it. That's why I think that it's important. And Afghanistan is one of the maybe 20 countries which I'm doing this works in there. I'm doing this in not only on the war conflicts.
We try to put it in Facebook, but it doesn't work. So we put it in YouTube. What you say, because we haven't been able to tell it. We had people in Iran. They had difficulties to connect, and up.
New
Recording
type of
in progress.
Which the main help is not saying that I'm going to bring the food for you or creating a school for you, but giving you the tools that you could create your own media, that you can tell your own stories. So that's why I think that this is an innovative way, a new way of the helping the others, of the NGOs, giving them the tools, giving them the possibility of telling their own stories. They connect to the people themselves. That's why I think that this way of looking to the NGOs and the humanitarian work, which I have started, again, 40 years ago, parallel to my photography works. That's what I was doing. And a lot of funds which I had was mainly through my books, my photographs, my works, my conferences. So, and I have been doing this benevolent for 40 years. Me, my family, everybody, we works on this as a benevolent.
I know it perfectly because actually all my family is involved also. This is it. Yeah, I understand. That's thank you for sharing that, because it's really very brilliant. And as a psychotherapist and mindfulness teacher, I understand it very well. That and what you tell brings me to the mind a poem I wanted to share, because I want to talk about the similarity between mindfulness and Sufi way. And there is a poem of Rumi talking about someone who cannot see because he had his eyes. He don't see one thing because his eyes, you know, he had an eyes problem. In Persian, we say chap hastesh. His eyes are, you know, when your eyes are going there, so you see everything 2 times. And he don't believe that what he see is 1 and not 2. And so he goes and he break actually the beautiful piece, because he don't see 1, but he see 2. And Rumi says, when you are full of emotions, you see things 2 times. You don't see them 1. So you don't see that we are all connected. You feel yourself separated. You see the separation, you don't see the connection. And it brings in my mind what you tell about the people who want only to go revenge. And we have had this experience also with the Iranian Revolution, with people who didn't want the Shah because of the Mossadegh fall. And that was only a problem of revenge all time. I understand it very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I
appreciate your time, and I appreciate everybody listening to. I'm saluting everybody participating here from different nations, different countries. And I hope that the message which for me is important, that was these days we all have to support Afghan women demonstration. Everybody should do it. Please do it.
خیلی ممنون استاد.
And do this.
Thank you very much. Are you going to stay with us for the Sufi dance?
Unfortunately, I have another meetings with another country now. You know, the works, even Sunday is going on for me.
Thank you.
So in a few minutes, I have another meetings in different countries, different languages. It will be in Azerbaijani language with people in Azerbaijan. So that's where I'm working past years now. More than 15 months now, I have been working in Azerbaijan, not Iranian Azerbaijan, because I can't go in Iran 40 years, but in Azerbaijan, which the capital is Baku, and I'm working on the Karabakh, on the war of the Karabakh. So this is going to be my next big story.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your support. Just to let you know, we have to reach the 1,500 euros, which is not, I was thinking it would be easy, but it's not. And if we don't reach the amount, everything will be returned. So if you can support it to be done, that's perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your presence, Reza. I was really very honored by you.
And I hope that if anybody is in Paris, please join us 21st of June. We had a big exhibition about Afghanistan in Paris. 21st June starting. There were a picture of Masoud Hosseini also and some Afghan women's photographs. Very good project for Afghanistan. Till April will be go on. So this is also another way which we're supporting Afghanistan by creating exhibition and letting people know about it.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.